You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the first ever episode of the Insight Fantasy Sports AFL Fantasy, not Supercoach, AFL Fantasy, sort of podcast series, I guess. Starting with some team reveals. How else are you going to, start your season off without a team? Joined with me, as always. Well, no, I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Bryce, also known as at BK_IFS on Twitter. Some of you may have been following the socials, some of you not. Mad Lions fan. Pretty happy with how last year went along. And obviously love my fantasy as well. Joined with me, as is going to be every one of these episodes, is my mate Nate. Didn't even mean to rhyme there. But Nathan, I'm going to say, salt to my margarita. We'll go with that for this episode. How are you feeling for the season, man?
Oh, feeling good for the season. I'm not sure how I feel about the host introducing himself before the guest. I feel like that's quite rude. But I'll look past it. I'm a forgiving man. Be the bigger person and all that. Look, we need footy back. Especially, I know for myself, I don't watch cricket. I know you do. Mm-hmm. So I think summer's particularly a difficult time for me. You got nothing to watch, nothing on. We've had some practice matches now, which is great, but let's be real. We want actual footy, don't we?
The real thing.
Yeah.
Mate, single digit in the days column now as well for fantasy, let alone you can count on one hand the days until the round starts. I'm just so keen to get back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, start us off, man. We'll start from the top, begin at the beginning. D1, your man, we might want to preface for those first-time listeners as well, got the red, white, and black there. Your man, Naz, I know you love this guy, even away from fantasy as it is, but with his scoring potential, why is he your D1, man?
Yeah, he's such a great player to watch. I rate him as the best kick in the comp, genuinely. Yeah. I think he is outstanding by foot. D1, look, he's improved on his fantasy game every season so far. I don't see why that's going to stop. You've got Riley Bonner has seen the boot, which will be good for both St Kilda as a club, but also Wanganeen Miller's scoring should improve.
Us as super coach, well, not super coach, us as fantasy coaches, damn, on the wrong podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And he'll get a couple extra kick-ins here and there. Bit of natural progression about it. Bit of extra opportunity if Sinclair misses a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So all these little things just sort of adding up. And at his price point, we want everyone to improve on their average or on their price. These top-end premiums, they don't need to improve as much, right? Like a rookie, you might need 30 points upside. I don't need that with Wanganeen Miller. If he can get to that 100 mark, I'm pretty happy with that as my D1.
I think that other thing with him as well, it's a lot of people have been saying you can't go with him because Sinclair has that role and owned that role for so long. But I see Sinclair going on ball a whole lot more. That midfield's looking thin, him creeping up, and Naz, just staying back there. His teammates always looking for him and looking to just rack us points.
Yeah, and I don't buy the whole, they can't, there's only so much footy to go around. Well, last season, St Kilda had 3 players at halfback. And it's not like Bonner was scoring 50. He was putting up good fantasy numbers, but he was getting plenty of it. So I don't read into, there's not enough for these 2 players to share. If it's those 2 and the third is a rookie coming through, that's more than enough ball.
And I'm not sure, it would be defenders as opposed to whole season, but he was racking at the 7th highest rate per minute. I think 9th highest average. I'm not sure what the time span was on it, or sort of the fine riding, if you will. But great option. I'm a big fan of that pick. I might be jumping on that myself.
Yep,
D2, man. Yeah.
D2, Trent Rivers. So, look, this one, there's a little bit of speculation. We don't know for certain if he's going to be playing in the midfield or not. It feels like that's the case. It feels like Petrarca pushes forward a bit more. I feel like Rivers maybe goes ahead of Viney in the pecking order this season.
Wow.
It's not one that I'm 100% sold on, right? There's a player that could leave my team. But if he does have that midfield role, there's maybe 10 points worth of upside. He averaged about 90 when he had that opportunity last season at the back end. This season, priced at 82. That's enough upside. If he does have that role, that's enough for me. It's just going to be a matter of, do we actually see him with that role or not, and how safe do we feel?
Yeah, talk to me about that Viney over Rivers, because you'd think if you're a coach, one guy can only play in the midfield, the other one can go back. What's the thinking there?
Well, I just think they need to mix it up a little bit. That's just my take on it. Like, you think about how much everyone has lauded their midfield, right? With Petrarca, Oliver, Viney.
Gone.
I know gone as well, yes. I know they've had some, obviously, injury issues last season, especially Petrarca and Oliver, right? They missed a lot of time. Viney, I already felt like last season he took a pretty big step down on what he'd done on the couple of seasons prior. Not just from a fantasy context, but actual football
performance. Yeah.
Performance. So he's ticked over to 30 years old. Maybe it is time to just have someone a bit younger, a bit fresher in there more frequently. It's not to say Viney's going to miss out completely, right? Like, it might only be 3 on ballers for each centre bounce, but most sides are going to run, 5 or 6 through the middle pretty consistently. So that's probably enough for me to be happy with Rivers as a pick.
Yeah. And does that Pracky match score, does that scare you with him at all?
It does a little bit. Like, he still had plenty of opportunity in the middle. I think the last quarter, he didn't really get much time in the middle. But if anything, the last quarter is the one you take the least from a relevance standpoint in these Pracky games. So, there's concern there. Like, I'm not going to feel comfortable about that as a pick, but for the time being, he'll sit in my team. Maybe I bounce into someone else. There's a couple of options around his price range.
It's a hard watch, but it's a fun watch with him because he's one of the only backs here that you'd be saying, get forward. I don't want you back. I don't want you getting easy ball. You're better off scoring upfield.
Yeah, there's some players that we definitely love having it down back, isn't there?
And, well, I feel like you're about to speak about one of them, aren't you?
Yeah. There's a guy you just need to have Jaden Short in your team. I see he's at 35% owned, so that means over half the fantasy comp has no chance of winning the car this year. So that's great for us, right? In fact, you know what? While we're reaching out publicly, don't
do it.
You don't need Short in your
Stay
team.
out.
We'll just have the shifty dog eyes or something going on. Look, he's the only player over the age of 12 at Richmond right now in their backline. He'll get all of the ball. He'll get plenty of kick-ins. He'll be, every time they're trying to move it forward, they'll want him to be taking on the dangerous kicks. When they want to slow the game down, which they'll do at times, he'll just get more plus sickers because, again, he's the first guy they're going to look for. How much does he average? I could see 95 probably, maybe about the mark for him. Which that's a lot of upside for a guy that's 800k.
Yeah, and even on that, there's going to be plenty of ball back there for Richmond this season. How many wins do you see them getting?
Well, it's tough.
I'll give you a line of 2.5.
Well, they won 2 games last year, and
they've gone worse.
They're not better.
No,
they're not better than they were last year. I forget who they beat. I know they beat Sydney early in the year. What was that? Was it a West Coast game or something? Or a North, maybe?
Yeah.
It's one of those, because on any given week, like when I'm going through my tipping, I'm never going to tip them. But there'll be some random game. They'll knock off like a Carlton or something in round 1 and shock us. And it'll create scenes. But no, if I'm picking a line of 2.5, that's unders, right?
Wow.
Like this is just GWS Gold Coast entering the comp territory.
Average age of 15, yeah. Just finishing off on short, yeah, comes in average, well, priced at 81 off that average of 81 last year. Gone 93, 98, and 93 the years before. They lose Rioli back there, another guy to take points off him. And, yeah, like you said, they'll just be looking to get it to him all day long when the ball's down there in 80% of the games. Roberts D5. I love it. Another guy with a change of role. Yeah, talk to us about him.
Yeah, got him at D4. Check your counting there, mate. Yeah, he
Wait, what
looks
did I
like he
say?
should have. You said D5.
Oh my god. Yeah, right.
Jumping ahead a little, getting
Sorry.
excited.
I am.
Yeah, look, he's a pretty good scorer. We saw back end of last season, like last 5 games, he averaged nearly 110. Like when he's got that halfback role, and it looks like he's got that absolutely locked up now,
Yep.
then he can absolutely score. Now, that's not to say he'll go at 110. That was a 5-game stretch, but he's priced at 76. He's probably capable of pushing that 95 mark alongside a Jaden
90
Short.
definitely, for me.
Yeah, I think 90 would probably be the floor for him. Yeah, and if he's giving you 90, you take that, right? That's a lot of value, and there's not that many great defensive options, I don't feel, this season. So
No,
think-
graveyard.
that should be more than enough for us to be happy with him.
Yeah. And yeah, the injury to Mills as well. Not to say they were playing the same role, but I think we'll open up some more scoring there. Yeah, Lloyd moved upfield to a wing, which is where it looks like he'll be for this year, and that's where he got those points at the back end of the year. I feel like he'll just sit back, let the other boys play, and be happy to just rack up and accumulate that. And we know this because he's a fellow fantasy player himself. He'll be looking out, putting in the extra yards to maybe get a kick out or something. So yeah, gotta love that from the guy. And from a change of role to a change of club at your actual D5 this time, thanks, dickhead. Perryman, another round 0 watch, and yeah, dude, I like it.
Yeah, he looks really good in preseason. Looks like he should just be in the Collingwood midfield, which I think that's all we need to see, right? He's priced at 74. It's not like he's a kid, right? So a 26-year-old midfielder, how many of them are going to go
26?
below 74, right? So
He was like
we've seen him
24.
score mid 80s to 90 is sort of the range he can give you when he's got midfield time in the past. So that's probably about what he goes this year, and I'm happy with that. Like, again, it's not a knockout pick, but I think that's, again, plenty of upside. I'm just happy to start him.
I'm interested to see how Collingwood compose this, because they haven't got Degoe back yet, haven't got Titch back yet. Josh Dacos has gone back to a halfback. Houston comes in. They're still going to play Pendlebury. Nick Dacos says you don't need to say much about him, but where do you see him fitting in?
Well, I think he just goes in there, right? Like, even if they've got a healthy list, a lot of these other players, you're pretty comfortable putting elsewhere, right? Like, if you've got a Degoe coming off of out of a forward line, that's a pretty scary prospect for oppositions, you know? If you've got Josh Dacos off halfback, like, he doesn't need to be in the middle. He's got so much class with the ball. Leave him a halfback. Even Pendlebury, like, we saw him start to leave the midfield last season, right? Like, he doesn't need to be in there. Side bottom's out of the midfield now. He doesn't need to be in there. Like, they've got a pretty new look midfield. I think I'm pretty comfortable with having him just sitting there if I'm a Colin coach, if I'm McRae. But
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, another one of those guys that loves a tackle as well. I think he'll be taking a more defensive role in that midfield. But yeah, in the cut and thrust, getting us points. And yeah, I like what I see. And I like what I see with this new Geelong Ruck situation. Cometh the man, priced at 55. We know he averaged 90 last year when he was the number 1 Ruck. And that's exactly what it looks like he's going to be doing this year.
Yeah, that's as simple as that for why I've picked him. That's all I need to see out of the practice games. His scoring was pretty atrocious for the preseason. But that's probably one we're not as concerned about with these preseason games. We just care about seeing the actual role. And
if anything,
he's
it
gonna be
helps,
playing
scares people off for Sam de Koning, for those of you who hadn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, keep him to our own. Maybe the only concern is, even though he looks like he's going to be number one ruck, we've seen what Chris Scott's done in recent years with that ruck spot. So I don't think there's such thing as job security for him. I don't think that's possible. But at least for the start of the season, it's his spot to lose.
55 as well.
Yeah. And if he does lose that spot, he's expensive enough that we can move him on to someone else without it, setting our whole team ablaze, right?
Derailing your season.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with de Koning at my D6, and it means you don't have to have any rookies on field scoring in your backline, which notoriously defensive rookies struggle more than any other.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy if I can just have no rookies on field in my backline. That's the path I want to go. So de Koning being D6, unless another sort of mid-pricer just below him can take the D6, and I bump him up a spot. But otherwise, yeah, pretty happy with him.
Yeah, just looking like Conway's on the outer. You don't want a Reece Stanley playing in there. I was a fan of his set kicking against Brisbane in the last 2 minutes of that final, though. But in terms of keeping a full-time role, I think invest in your youth, put him there. We don't want to see him at key back, and that's another sort of red flag with him as well. He'll be resting on a key forward. That'll be his break, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the smartest thing. Maybe they go the other way. Maybe they rest him forward. I mean, we know the other de Konings played forward before, right? So I'm sure
genetic.
Sam he'll be fine. It's in the blood. I think. With his sort of genetics, it doesn't need to be a lot of footballing talent for him to move to a different role, right? You can't teach that level of height. Like that's just something you have or you don't. So if he needs to rest forward, he can rest forward. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, speaking of just fine as well. Our bench: Zach Reid, Bo Allen, does what they say on the tin. They'll get games. What more can you ask?
Yeah, I'll start with Zach Reid. So I think out of all the defensive rookies, not that he's a rookie as such, he's 23 years old, but rookie priced. I couldn't be more confident in a rookie's job security than I am with him. He's not going to score great, but look, he doesn't need to score great. If he scores 50 every week, just ticking along, a little bit of money week on week until you eventually ship him off to someone else, that's fine. Again,
it's not going to be a sub risk playing key back.
Yeah, he shouldn't get subbed off, but he'd have to have a really bad game to get subbed off.
Or get injured, which is the more likely.
Yeah, well, that can happen to anyone. And then Bo Allen, 50% owned. I think he's out of the genuine rookies that people have the most confidence in actually playing and having job security. He struggled a bit in the preseason game, which you give him a pass as a rookie. He's one. Look, by all means, he could go to a different rookie. I'm sure a couple of these rookie options, they just won't be there round one, and we'll have to look elsewhere, right? So that's where you try to build up a bit of rookie knowledge as the season goes. But at least for the time being, he's there at D8.
Yeah,
he scores reasonably well in his junior years. He should be playing for West Coast. They're not that great of a list, so it's a bit easier for him to walk into that side. I'm pretty happy with him at D8.
Yeah, should we crack on the midfield then?
Yeah, let's get going. Brayshaw.
So, actually, we'll give a quick recap for the people who don't have the
go for it.
The visuals as well. Yeah, we got Wangan Miller at D1, Trent Rivers D2, Jaden Short D3, Matt Roberts D4, Harry Perryman D5, and Sam de Koning at D6. With Zach Reid and Bo Allen, who we just talked about, on the bench as our rookies for our start of season defense as we speak. M1, Andy Brayshaw coming in, priced at 105. What are you seeing him? Because we know that, we don't want to start those Uber premiums, but I think he's one that's got a bit of value in him.
Yeah, well, I saw a bit of bandaging and a bit of a shiner under the right eye
Before he came on the ground.
Game started. Yeah, before
what are
the
they
game
doing
started.
in Frio training?
Yeah, I wonder if there's a training thing. Maybe that's in their warm-up. Who knows?
Or maybe he's just, I don't know, walked under a walkway. It's just a bit too low.
Just a clumsy bloke. How does he have a career as a footballer? He's that clumsy. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the top scoring midfielder in fantasy this season. I mean,
wow.
He's averaged 110 plus multiple years in a row. Last year was a down year. Couple of little niggles. Sometimes they weren't even playing him in the midfield as well. They'd play him out on a wing, drop him to like a half back or half forward for little patches, and I think it just didn't work. It didn't look good. So I'm sure he'll be back in the middle, and that's what we've seen in the preseason as well. Another one, not putting out outstanding numbers in the preseason, but for a player like him, you don't care about what score is giving you. I think famously Swan says the great players don't try in preseason. So I can't imagine Brayshaw was trying too much. So same goes for the All-Stars game.
Yeah,
there was a lot of
I want to know how heavy his boots were, because he was not. they were moving but not going anywhere.
Yeah, and especially for a player like it, like he can win some cheap ball, but he wins a lot of hard ball. And I think in pre-season, hard ball's not as enticing for a player like him. So, how much upside does he have in him? I think priced at 105. If he can go 110, you're happy. If he can go 108, you're happy as a pick.
Yep.
But I could see a well-be pushes anywhere from 110 to 115, and as a top scoring midfielder, I think that's very achievable.
Yeah, 113 for him post buy as well. I don't think he has to worry about the tag with Young and Sarong in there. I see Young as their impact player. That's where I'd be putting my guy onto if I was versing them as well. So that's just another tick off that you'd have to worry about with a lot of premiums. Put a Dacos in there. There's just that run of scary tags that could reduce his scoring and your team value, which is not what you want to be doing at the start, is it?
Yeah, he's probably of their main three midfielders, he's probably the last one to get tagged. He's the one you're least concerned about. So, which for us fantasy coaches is great news, right? So
fantastic. Connor Rosie, under $1 million for this guy. Obviously, no Zach Butters. That news in quite recently actually. So he'll be their number one mid, captain. He'll be all around it, and I think he's got some extreme value to him as well.
Yeah, another one had a bit of a down year, so dropped about 7 points off his average last season. Couple of injury-affected games. I remember one week he gets injured, the next week he's saying he's right for the showdown, and he's subbed off before halftime. Probably could have done a bit better in his first year as captain, but even that's a little bit of an upside for us this year, right? So maybe he grows into that role just that little bit more. And again, he's a premium player, priced at 97. If he gets over 100, it's a fine pick. I think he can probably push 105 this year.
Yep, I like that.
And
106.
Butters out as well. You can't move Rosie. I know there's been some talk you play him a little bit forward as well, but if Butters is out for 6 weeks, absolutely Rosie is in the middle. Every bounce he's on the ground for at least.
Not a worry. Yeah, 106 average in 23, down to 97 as we can see there in 24 after the injury patch, hammy, ankle. And he was going at 103 when he wasn't injured as well, which is already 6 points on what he's bringing up for us.
Should be pretty guaranteed upside in him, I'd say, compared to just thinking someone's going to have a breakout. He doesn't need to have a breakout. He just needs to not get injured, and he's value. So
get him in.
Yep. Up next, how do you feel looking at this face for my M3?
Some other people disagree. This gets me turned on, especially with that 77 next to his face. This guy, extreme value. We know the struggles on and off field he's had last year. Clayton Oliver for the Melbourne Demons. He's a premium of pass, and I think his best's in front of him. It's been a lot of hard work. Those sort of injuries and that weird hand wrap, just making it even easier to pick him out when he wasn't scoring. That's a thing of the past as well, and I think he's ready to get back to his best.
Yeah, I think people really underestimate a hand injury because if a player's out with a hamstring, they're just not playing. You can't run, you can't play. With a hand, because you can still run, you can still fill in that space. They send you out there, but anytime the ball comes near you, it is so painful. Like, that's going to affect your score, and that's what happened with Oliver. Like, in combination with some of the other off-field stuff, this is a guy that consistently has been 110 plus, or lots of 115 seasons as well, multiple times. Like, that's close to where his scoring is, and maybe he doesn't quite go 115, but even if it's like a 105 this year, that's probably about where he's at, right? Like, and he's priced at 78. That's incredible value. Pre-season's a big tick, right? Like, again, not that we care too much about the actual score, but he did get a 112 against Freo. But more importantly, you looked at him play, and it just looks like someone that wanted to be there, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't feel that way last year with Clare.
No, he looked disinterested and like borderline angry. He just did not want to be there.
He probably didn't want to be there. A bit of a what Cosy Pigot's going to be going through this year. Just doing his time.
Yeah.
What a choice of words from Pickett.
That's one we're going to have to put in the something around that in the sound bites, I reckon.
Oh, gosh.
But
I think
like you mentioned,
Oliver's just one you have, right? If you don't have him, what's the point in even playing fantasy this year? You're not winning anything. You're no chance for a car. You're no chance for a hat. Just don't bother if you're not starting him.
Yeah. Number 4, I put him at in my 25 must-haves of season 25 on the Twitter there. And like you said, previous seasons of 114, 109, 112, and then 114 again, priced at 77. Lock him in. Peatling as your M5 in that stacked Adelaide midfield, coming in at 62. What do you think he can do?
Well, the main thing is we've seen in the midfield, it looks like he actually has the spot there, right? Mm-hmm. I know there's not a lot of security around the Adelaide midfield. They've mixed and matched a lot over the last couple of years. I'm sure they'll probably still do it this year. But at least for the sake of this preseason, Peatling's been in there. He looks like he's going to score well while he's in there. I don't see why you wouldn't really start him. Like, he's priced at 62. He goes at least 80 in that midfield role. Maybe even pushes a 90. Like, he's just a solid player. I don't know. I feel like you have him in the midfield. You chuck a Dawson's can still spend plenty of time in the midfield. You can start throwing Rankin through there a bit more. Saligo. No, Laird's moved back, which is good. Maybe Crouch can move to the reserves. Might be a good move for him at this point in his career.
Please.
Yeah, not to say we've had an appreciated Crouch over the years. He's been great.
Appreciated him last year.
Yeah, it was great last year. Just, stick to last year. Don't need you this year. Move on. I think Peatling's one of the better mid-price options we've got.
I think, he's just looked good. He's had those CBAs. It's, in the writing. You can't argue with it. He's passed the eye test, and I think he's going to be in there, and I think he's someone you've just got to have in.
Yep.
Then this guy's my contentious one. 600k for Elijah Sardis. Coming in priced at, what does that make him priced at?
I will tell you, that
58,
puts him
59?
at 58.
Yeah. I suppose because he looks like he's in that Essendon midfield, which is why he's in your team. But you know better than me, man. It's your team. Tell us about him.
Yeah, I just see him holding that spot. I think in the preseason he looked solid. He's not an elite ball user per se. You'll see him doing a lot more handballing than kicking, which probably caps his ceiling a little bit, right? Like, I don't think he's a guy that can average 100, but he doesn't need to average 100 priced at 58, right? Like,
Correct.
if he can get us close to that 80 mark, a little over the 80 mark, I think that's very attainable.
Yeah.
Especially if he does have that midfield role. And I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have that midfield. I mean, you even got like Shield moving completely out of the midfield, trying them at halfback. So I think Sardis just keeps that role, makes him a pretty good pick in fantasy. I saw in Supercoach as well. He's priced at 35 over there, which is pretty ridiculous. Be one of the easiest locks in Supercoach, I imagine. He's definitely not a lock in fantasy.
No.
But
what's his ownership down there?
His ownership's at about 5%. So
yeah, well, that's what we're here to do as well. We're not playing just to get top 1,000, top 500, something like that. We're going for the car and falling back on some hats if that's the option. We want these little ones that you don't think many people are going to be jumping on. But yeah, watching them and that feeling if they pump you out, like a Sardis, for example, a 600k guy pumps you out at 120, then there's not much better than that, is there?
Yeah, I think it's always a bit more fun watching a pod run around, right? Like when you get to the back end of a season and you see a Dacross running wild, and you can't even get excited because everyone's got it, So it's nice to have a couple of pods. Let's not say you go out of your way just to pick someone to be different, right? You've got to still believe in their capabilities.
Which he has. He's got the numbers.
Yeah, I think Sardis is not a lock. You've got your Will Days out there. You could jump on a Shield, move in a half. Like, there's plenty of mid-price options you could go for. This is probably the one I'm happiest to go for. I'm just liking his role.
Yeah. And with that as well, he's got that opening round score that you'll be able to loop in. And who knows, if he does pump out that 120, he won't be a pod for you anymore. How does that make you feel?
I'm hoping maybe like an 85, 90. That's what I want. I want a good score out of him opening round, but
just nothing that puts him in the headlines.
Nothing too, because he's not in your team at the moment. If he scored like an 85, I don't think that's forcing him into your side, is it?
Not, because I think my closest one to him is Doherty, and I'm probably backing Doherty to score more than that, yeah.
Yeah, so long as he doesn't do too much. If it's an 85, I'm happy. If he pumps out a 110, I imagine you're saying goodbye to Doherty. That's just how it is, yeah.
Good fantasy doesn't always go rewarded. Now, onto the rookies. So you've gone with 3 on field. It's been that sort of discussion of, do we go 3, do we go 2? There was a point where you go 4, but with some of those injuries to those higher owned ones, your Jaggers, your Sammy Lawlers, it's pretty locked in and boring what we're doing with our rookies, and I don't think we need to go in depth with them. They've all got some stuff in common. Tell us about them. Yeah,
so I think most of the preseason I've probably had the 2 rookies in midfield. I think only recently it sort of went to 3.
Really?
I don't think there's any chance I'd do 4. I think 4's absolutely okay. I don't even have 4 rookies on my field across the whole team. I'm definitely not doing 4 in the midfield. As fewer rookies as possible, right? With these guys, so Langford, O'Sullivan, Draper, Ashcroft, they're all just... They're guys you expect to play that should have job security, right? Yeah. Not that we know for certain with any rookie about job security, but as much as we know, these are the guys that should be every week getting a spot for their sides.
Yeah.
A lot of them have pretty good scoring numbers in their juniors, right? So we're pretty confident in Ashcroft.
Some of them have good scoring in their seniors.
They can score pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with all of them. Hasty's probably the most unique of these, I imagine. I'll skim through. So Langford 31% owned, O'Sullivan 32%, Ashcroft 61%, Jesus,
yes.
And Draper at 41%. So yeah, pretty template rookies.
Draper's
I think
higher owned than the other 2.
Yeah, he is. He looks good in pre-season.
I'm just saying he's much less of like a sub risk and getting that consistent run of games than the other 2, in my opinion, especially O'Sullivan.
No, for sure. And a lot of these rookies, round one will come along, will have to change something. So those are probably my main ones. I think Hasty's maybe one that's
Yeah,
a
I want to
bit
hear more
more
about him.
worth
What's
talking
the
about.
what's the go here?
He's not a popular pick.
Oh my
He's just
god, he
been
looks like
talked
a
up a
kid that used
bit
to go
in
to my
the
school.
talked up a bit in the preseason. Jack Steele likes him. Joey Montagna likes him. He looked good in preseason. Like even in that Port game where basically none of the St Kilda side looked like they were interested in playing. A lot of them looked poor. He was one of the few highlights. I, I find it hard to see him not playing. Is the thing like, and he doesn't have to have a great role. Like again, if he's going to play that sort of halfback role, he can be third fiddle behind Wanganeen Miller, behind Sinclair, and average you a 60, and that's plenty at 230k. So long as he's playing, any 230k is probably worth the pick, right?
Yeah, and most importantly, he's got a picture on fantasy as well.
He does, yeah. All of these other
Doing better than the other ones.
popular rookies, look at them. Clearly, they're bad. If they don't have a picture, maybe I should take him out of the team. Maybe they're not good enough.
Yeah.
Must be made up players.
Don't speak about Levi like that. The rest of them, you can have him. Stay away. Rucks. Now, these are the three that I'm... Actually, well, before we zoom in, for the audio listeners, we've got, Brayshaw M1, Rosie M2, Oliver M3, Peatling at M4, Sardis M5, and then Langford, Sullivan, Levi, and however you want on field. And then we've got Draper and your man Angus Hasty, looking like the guy from my high school with the picture on the pine there. Now, Rucks, these are the ones I'm bullish of. I'm putting my foot down. If you're not going this, what are you doing? There's the three must-haves in that section. I think maybe you could possibly go towards a Gorn, but that would be you either losing the scoring of one or the value of the other on field. And we'll start with the main man. You've already got the captaincy on him. We're 10 days away and you've already put the C there.
Yeah, I don't even have a vice captain. I just have the captain.
Big Jerry, X-Man.
Very nice. Yep, love a big helmet on the team. Never seen a ruckman tackle so much. This is really why his fantasy game is so great. Him and Marshall were the clear top two last season in fantasy. And I'd probably have put him there again this season. Marshall, bit of injury pre-season, maybe takes him out of it. But we're talking about a guy who went, 125 post-buy. In his last 5, he averaged 140. Like those are big numbers that I'm saying. Like, I don't think you need to overthink it, do you? Like,
no,
that's incredible. Like imagine you're sitting there, you want to work out, who do I captain this week? This is what he did from round 11 onwards last season. 120, 129, 107, 99. That's about as bad as it gets. I think he's had 2 scores under 100.
I don't think I'm ready for this.
129 again, 118, 94, 124. Here's where it gets fun. 156, 150, 168. 3 weeks in a row where 150 was the low point. That's insane. 122, 109 to finish the year.
So who were those 3 against?
I'll look it up if you want to.
Am I testing you there?
I think in the time being.
Well, the direction I'm going is if one of them was against English, who we know was one of the easier rocks to score against, he's got him in round 1 as well, and that's the round you'll be wanting him because you won't have that loop unless you're playing 22 of your best 23, but with a red dot, which
the 3 teams: Richmond, West Coast, and Bulldogs.
There we go. So he does it against the big teams and English. That's what we love to see. But that round 1, I was saying, because you won't be able to loop in that vice captain, and you know he's against one of the lower scoring matchups, or one of the high scoring for him matchups. I think you've got to have him in just to double that and lock in a solid score in round 1, because we know you want to get value, but you also sort of need them, because if you don't have him and he pumps out a big boy score, you are starting a long way back, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Especially those first couple of weeks for captaincy as well, because as the season goes on, there'll be a red dot somewhere in your team for a Lou. But you're not sitting there wanting a red dot when you're picking your starting fantasy side, right? You don't go out of your way to pick it just so you can get that vice captain score potential. So you want a captain that you can look at pretty confidently and say he's going to score well. And I think Sherry, more than any other player in the comp, maybe if you're going for like a Zach Merritt or something, he's a pretty reliable scorer. But otherwise, well, Sherry's just, and he's got such a ceiling. Like, I wouldn't be sure if he pumps out a 140 plus round one. I don't think that's going to surprise anyone.
Well, on to D2, another guy we have to have in. News that Pitnet will be missing the early parts of this season, meaning Tom de Koning finally gets both hands on that solo ruck position where, yeah, we know that he can score.
Yeah, he's got plenty of upside in that position. And I think Carlton looked a lot better. It was something to the effect of 9-1 when he was solo ruck last season. So, yeah, priced at 88, I think he can probably push pretty close to that 100 mark, maybe even get above
I'm
it.
saying 100. I'm happy with that.
We averaged 99 as solo ruck last year for the 10 games he played it. So, yeah, 100's not a big leap from there. He's almost all the way there. And it's just another year of experience in the role too, right? So
yeah, and from there, it was 103 when he had 80% of those CBAs as well.
Yeah, so I think pretty happy with that. And you'll look at a lot of the ruck options. Like, if you're wanting to back in like a Nane Curvis, like what's changed with Nane Curvis this season? You know, like I'll even speed through a couple of these.
He's gotten older.
Well, he has gotten older. You know, you look at Tim English. Maybe there's some upside because he had some injuries last year, a bit of concussion, stuff like that. Maybe you argue like a Grundy might just bounce back to where he's been before, but we don't have any reason to really think that. You know, bit of talk about Darcy Cameron, I know, because he should just
round 0 though
responsibility, but
he'll have a bye.
Then, like, there was already like a Cox starting to leave the team, right? Like, that's nothing new. Briggsy, another one with an early bye.
Didn't come back fat.
Yeah, it's just there's not much reason to think a lot of these guys are going to improve. You know, Riley O'Brien, he's not going to improve, right? There's no value there. De Koning, we've got reason to think he's going to improve.
Yeah.
And
well,
not
this
just,
is why it's that tap in, yeah.
It's not just a gut feeling, right? It's backed up by the numbers he did last year. So,
yeah, fantastic pick. And yeah, even just from a football standpoint, I don't know why Voss is persisting with Pitnet, just with those records. We haven't even mentioned the records when, yeah, De Koning starting on his own, 9-1, was it on his own?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, wildly the other way. Obviously, against when he wasn't. I think it's a young kid coming into his prime for a ruck. Let him play. And yeah, we'll see the best out of him, both on field and, on field for our fantasy teams as well, hopefully. R3, Min Pricer, 230k. Harry Boyd, one of your guys from the Saints, had some ridiculous numbers in the level below. Did he win that, like, Norm Smith of the Waffle Grand Final or something like that?
It was either Norm Smith or it was the like Brownlow equivalent. It was one of them. I forget which one.
But big raps. Mature age as well, I might want to add in here. So his Donald is developing. You won't have to worry about that. Marshall, still with a bit of niggles if he comes back early. And if not, you've got to have this guy. There's no other R3 for it.
Yeah. A lot of seasons, your R3 is just a red dot. That might be the only place where you just have a red dot. If there's no option available, this guy actually is an option, especially with Marshall being hurt. Maybe he gets a week or two solo ruck. When Marshall comes back, there's still enough injuries at St Kilda. He should still get a game. And we know he can score, right? So he was averaging, 20 disposals, 4 tackles, 40-something hit-outs, right? Like, that's what he can do. Granted, not at the AFL level. It's one level below, but he doesn't need to score.
Just sit him on your bench.
He's a 230k player that's going to play. if he's got solo ruck, he's going to score 70s for a couple of weeks at least.
Yeah.
Like,
Sit him
that
on your
just makes
bench.
you cash.
He's over and over. You'll put him out when Marshall gets back to full health, and he's not a sub risk as well, which is something with the other rookies you have to worry about.
Yeah,
So,
I think the only other thing to talk about with him, a lot of people have him here at R2. I don't think you can do that, right? Like,
I just got
he's,
tingles, shivers.
as much as I've liked how he's looked in preseason, you can't trust him to have that job security, right? Like, if St Kilda are going to go with one ruck, it's still Marshall, all right? Like, Boyd's not holding Marshall out of the team. I don't see any reason why Boyd doesn't, maybe get dropped by round 4 or round 5. That could happen. And if that does happen, what do you do if he's at R2, right? You can't get him, like, assume this bench spot is some other 230k red dot. If you want to get Boyd up to a DeConing in round 4 or 5, how are you going to find 700,000 to do it?
That's bye-bye Brayshaw or Naz in your case.
Exactly. It's Brayshaw going down all the way to some other rookie. And you don't want to be trading out a potential season-long keeper just to patch up something because you made a mistake with your opening team. So make sure if you've got Boyd, it's over here on the bench. He'll do you proud. It can maybe score you a couple of weeks during bye rounds or something. Maybe you get points out of him there. Maybe you've got 1 or 2 weeks with a DeConing or Sherry injury and he can fill in. That's fine. Don't start him on field.
Yeah, I want to turn that if you've got Boyd to when you've got Boyd. I want all of these guys, Jerry R1, DeConing R2, and Harry Boyd R3. That I want all of them 75%, 70% ownership for all of them by lockout. I think it's just such a tap in. We've been gifted for this year, I think. Now, forwards. So speaking of gifts, fucking hell. This is another one. It's going to be long, although this guy on your screen you've just gone into, he's, not been a fantasy gun of past, but we can see him going up. Isaac Rankin with his increase in midfield time, you'd think, for the Crows, for Nick's fighting for his job. Nathan, why have you gone him over those, say, a Horn Francis?
Well, he does just look like he's got that midfield role based on the preseason.
Training.
Again, there's a little concern that could be like the Heaney factor where year on year there's talk about them going into the midfield and it just doesn't happen. But we saw what happened with Heaney when he finally did get in there. He absolutely exploded. He's priced at 80. He's averaged about 94, 95 when he's been in the midfield in the past. So it's just, can he actually just hold a midfield spot? Which, as we touched on with Peatling, we don't know what Adelaide are going to do with their midfield round 1, and we certainly don't know what it's going to be like a month or 2 into the season. But look, if he is in there, that's a lot of upside. And comparing to like a Horn Francis, for example, he's a lot cheaper than Horn Francis, right?
I was just
he's
thinking
priced at 80. Horn Francis is priced at 90, right? So even if you trust Horn Francis a bit more to play in the midfield, which you should, he doesn't have the same potential upside, right? Maybe a more reliable upside, but I think of all the possible like F1s, assuming your F1 isn't one of the very popular picks, which we'll get into, I think this is the one with the most potential for high upside.
He's got that inside game, doesn't he? He loves a contested ball, loves a clearance. He just needs to add that outside, which is what we're looking for in our fantasy players as well, that mix of inside and outside. And
just a good player to watch too.
True, could be.
It'll make watching Adelaide games a lot easier when you've got him in your team. Right?
Do you think he'll be top 10 in the Brownlow this year?
Oh, I don't know about
assuming he plays
10.
midfield.
I think there'll be a couple for Brownlow. There'll be a couple of for one. I don't know how good Adelaide are necessarily going to be for a start, right? Like, you don't see many Brownlow medalists go to teams that miss finals, right? Or certainly because they finished, they were bottom 4 last year, were they?
Correct.
Or 5th from the bottom. So
I think it was 4th.
Sure, they should do better than that this year, but that doesn't mean suddenly they're a top 4 team or something either. And then in terms of players taking votes, I can see Dawson taking quite a few. there's probably not many others that are going to take votes. Like maybe the Thrill Seeker has a couple of bags in him. That's probably the only one that really comes to mind for taking some votes off.
Did you hear? Going a bit off track. Did you hear Corns wanting to play Tex at half back because he was too slow forward?
I don't think that's going to help move him half back if he's too slow.
Yeah,
That's probably not the solution. Like, he'd be a good kick down back.
Well, that was his justification, but no.
Like, that's the only reason you can justify putting him there is he can absolutely launch it out of defence. But yeah, that would be a pretty big liability when the other team has possession, wouldn't it?
Enough. Rankin F1, real quick, solid answer. Where is he finishing this year? F number what?
That's a tough one. I think
simple. Give me an answer.
Maybe I'll say F5.
F5. Okay. Good. All right. Let's go back to talking some sense. Jack McRae in a F2. He could be. Where do you see him finishing in his forward rankings?
I think he's the F1 personally. Wow. I think a guy that's averaged 120 before. Or 123, I should say. Let's not sell him short. And even when he wasn't doing that, he was still scoring 110 plus year after year. Yeah. Eventually, he started to get bevoed, which will probably be a theme of this forward line a little bit.
Mm-hmm, we do. What have we got here? It's like a
bit of a rehab group. Yeah, a few former bevo boys, and one that's still there. Fingers crossed for him.
Still with the toxic X.
Yeah. One day he'll break up. But he's got to do that on his own. McRae in the time being, though, like, he's just a proven scorer. He should walk straight into the Saints midfield. The only other person, because the Saints midfield right now, like, Steele's been the number one. You'd maybe have argued Filippo would have been ahead of McRae. That's probably the only one. And even then, that would have McRae as your third mid, right? So, yeah, pretty comfortable with him. Priced at 71. For a guy that doesn't know what it means to score below 100, even in the practice match against Port, it was like 100 disposals to 250 at halftime, and McRae still had nearly 20 touches. Like, the team didn't have the ball, and he still found it. So, yeah, it's just one of those players, and there'll be a few of them in this forward line. You start them if you're taking fantasy seriously. He's one. Just put him in your team.
Yep. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Just a bit of that Brisbane cyclone wind. I call it the what would it be called? The storm, opening round storm. Something that just hates opening round. Storm.
Yeah, I'm supportive of. They're talking about.
Cyclone Nathan coming in to cancel opening round.
No, if it cancels opening round, I'd be honoured to have it named after me. That'd be outstanding. Like, just move the whole round, have every team play in their block. Like, how insane? I know maybe I'm just going crazy. It'd be wild if we just had the first game of round one be the season opener. Like, I think that would be so creative if we just did that instead. I don't know.
Yeah,
what wild.
Give the interstate ones their home games and go from there. But that wouldn't give us the opportunity to get some of these opening round scores. But someone we're going to have to back is your F3, which I'm more than happy with, in the form of Sanders, the guy still with the toxic X, which is scary. But no Bont and no Treloar make that a lot safer of a space to go.
Yeah, I mean, even if Bont and Treloar were there, you'd think Sanders gets more midfield opportunity, at least as like a fourth peg behind Libba as well. With those two out, it's just about a sure. At any other club, it would be a sure thing. With Bevo in charge, there's still going to be some nerves about it. There really shouldn't be, but that's what Bevo does to us. Look, he's priced at 64. 5 games as a sub last year, I think it was, or 6 games as a sub.
Yeah,
so
actually, I have got that somewhere.
He's going to bump up his average. Even if he doesn't improve as a player, he's probably going to bump up his average 10, 15 points. And then throw in the fact that he's got a better role this season. throw in the fact that he should actually progress naturally. It's hard to not see him improving enough to be a lock in our team.
That's just it. Subbed in 5 out of his 14 games for the season. Went to VFL, had 7 games there, averaged 116. He does it all. He tackles, he marks, he can get goals. We've seen that in the preseason games. He's been dominating. He's really been quite strict on things like his diet and stuff, I've heard, which he didn't strike me as a player that needed to sort of change his fitness, but just that focus as well. I like that. I want like a proper professional that's going to look after himself and get us those big fantasy points.
Yeah, should be a good pick to just lock into our sides.
I like it, yeah, for sure. Now, this guy, I'm on my last 2, spoiler alert, I'm on my last 2 days of my 25 must-haves for season 25. This guy hasn't mentioned next, but he will soon. Baz Lenka, your fashion icon. He gets it off of you. Some of the looks and the rig as well, I think. Oh my goodness. Nathan's just zooming in on the near 69% owned.
Don't know if I can claim the rig, but yeah, that's a big number, isn't it?
Almost a must-have.
Yeah.
Why is that, dude? Come on.
He's going to be one of the top scoring midfielders, forwards, I should say. Well, probably will be one of the top scoring midfielders, but one of the top scoring forwards this year. He went close to 105 back in 2022. Then in 23, it was getting bevoed a little bit. There was a couple of niggles, a couple of fitness concerns, sort of affected his score. 2024, he just didn't play. So that gets him priced at 58, which that's insane how low that is. I know Geelong hasn't been a great place for players to score at the top end, that is, for fantasy. He doesn't need to score that much, right? Like if he scores 90, that's insane. That's 30 points of upside.
Ridiculous.
So I'm not concerned about that. I think if there is a concern about Bailey Smith, it's the fact that he's not played in the preseason at all. Mm-hmm. You know, that talk about he hurt himself at Pilates or something like that. Like,
yeah,
it's
with who?
Not great. With who?
Is that what he's calling it?
Yeah, look, it's enough to maybe raise your eyebrows a bit, to be a little concerned. We'll get a look in opening round. Hopefully we see that he does play. It will be a little bit of a headache if Geelong do.
What would it take for you to not pick him after opening round?
Well, I don't think he's capable of a score low enough that I wouldn't take him. The only concern would be if you start hearing Chris Scott in the press conferences talking about, we'll manage him week to week, see how it goes. Like, that's the sort of talk we don't want. Because if it's not that, if he's playing every week, he's in our teams. I don't think we need to overthink that.
It's been more than 12 months since he's played. That 106 average in 2022, where he did, or was that 2021? That he did a number on my Lions. No, it was one of the two.
2022.
Yeah. Fantastic. Bevoed. He'd had those on and off field issues, just like Oliver as well. But his looking back got the rig out as well. I think we haven't even really touched on this off camera either, Nathan. But I think he's a real just confidence player. Like once he's out there, he's got his peacock feathers out, flapping them all around, flapping something else all around on his Instagram as well. He's one, I think those things will do him a world of good, and he wasn't in a good headspace, obviously, in the previous years, as well as his injury. But no, I think he gets that confidence back. I think a change of clubs exactly what he needed, even away from fantasy, just for himself. And I think, he's going to get back to his best, as much as we love or hate it.
Yep, exactly.
And, alright, well, back to a best. Another ex-Bevo man, priced at 50. The new North Melbourne. I need like a Bruce Buffer impression. I'm not going to do one, but halfback for North. The golden role of years gone by, especially under Clarko. Caleb Daniel has been training without the headgear. You've said you've loved the headgear, but He's got the feathers out as well.
I think that's more of just a train. I assume the helmet's on round one, but it'll be a bit weird because he doesn't. He actually.
Well, Brayshaw needed a helmet in his training apparently.
Yeah, maybe he should. I think he's pretty recognisable without the helmet, Daniel. His head. Maybe it's just because you don't see his face and hair that often. So when suddenly you see
it's
it's like,
I get.
Who's that guy? Oh, it must be him.
Yeah.
But no, the helmet will be on, and the helmet will be getting a lot of disposals. Like you said, that North halfback role, we've seen, Fisher,
names.
Zeeble, we've seen Sheasel, we've seen Aaron Hall. There's a lot of players there that have racked up, that have gone 100 plus averages, or rookies getting close to the 100 mark. And some of these players were not very good players, right? Like, I like what a Zeebel's done over the course of his career, but is a Fisher or a Hall or a Powell was there for a hot minute? Are these star players? Are these sorts of guys that are going to get all Australian?
He is for
jackets?
the fantasy team in that role.
Nah, they're not that caliber. But Caleb Daniel, he's at one point in time he was considered one of the top halfbacks in the comp, right? Like, he's a very capable player. He's great with the ball. Kicking out his fence. All right, he's not going to be a massive kick, but just that 35 diagonal he's going to nail it. It's going to help North a lot if he's got the ball down there.
Yeah, needed someone like that. I think that's something that Richmond need.
You trust the job security.
Mm-hmm.
I think
not going to get subbed 8 times like last year.
Yeah, I think that was a big part of the selling point to get him to North too. Was come play for North, sit a halfback, have fun. Don't worry about getting subbed off. Don't worry about getting chucked forward or something random. And it means North can actually play McKercher up the ground. It means Sheasel can be a midfielder. So it enables a lot of things for the club. So
yeah,
I think
he'll be the guy.
Yeah,
and from what I hear as well, he's a really good trainer as well, especially for the young guys as well. He's a guy that's just good around the club, which obviously he's in a good place. He's enjoying himself, and he's gonna reward us for having faith in him. What percentage of us is he gonna reward there at the moment?
60%. So
60.
Another one of those ones. You just got to lock him in. And again, priced at 50 for a guy that is a good chance to be in the top 6 forwards this season, right? Like, I've probably got him around that 6 mark. I don't see how you can not start him, really. Like,
he's averaged 90 in 23 in a worse role.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 40 points.
Like, he's at least going to give you 90 this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's about as low of a floor as I can see for him. Mm-hmm. And best case scenario, he could break 100. I think that's achievable. I've probably got him more in the low 90s to 95, but I think 100's possible.
How good. Hugo Garcia rounding out your F6 spot and your forward line, priced at 44. What catches your eye about him? Going down to Moorabbin a little bit, I'm sure, for you and checking him out. But what sparks your interest?
Nice and close to the Saints training track, and get to watch a few trainings. And he was looking outstanding every time I was down there. And then you start to hear pundits start to talk about him. The club's putting out, when you hear all the such and such.
I know where this is going.
Training the house down, and you get a lot of that. And he had all of that talk, and there weren't a lot of Saints players getting that talk. It was almost all him. So he just looked great. His rig is phenomenal. If we're picking on that, I think
better than
that
yours
would be enough to lock him in. It is absolutely better than mine. Dare I say he's got the best rig in the comp. Like,
wow,
he's not got a massive build. Yeah, he's not got a massive build overall. That he would have 0% body fat. Like, he's what incredible shape. There's a lot of talk about him getting some improved midfield opportunity this season prior to any injury news, and I was pretty bullish that he would. I thought he looks really good when he was out there last season. Needed to fill out a little bit, which he has done. And then you get the Filippo news, and it's, who's taking that midfield role? And Garcia came to mind. Some people started to look at him. he was already in my team, locked in as
Here
much
it
as
is.
Taylor Daniel was locked in. And then the preseason games happen,
Here it is.
and this number
Say it.
here, well, this number when I first had him, it started with a 1, same as this. There was no 7.
There it
It was
is.
just a 1
There
and
it
then a
is.
dot. And
Doesn't want
in
to share.
preseason, he's come out and he's shown, yeah, I'm in this. This is going to be my midfield. That's what he's saying. He's putting his hand up for that. And now everyone's jumping on him. And my little secret treasure, what would have been the absolute best pod in my team, is turning into a popular pick, and that upsets me. That's the downside.
All about
to
me,
Gus.
me.
Absolutely, I want him to be mine, and for our listeners, of course, all of you could have jumped on board as well.
That's true. Yeah, I'm not happy with that.
We're not
Everyone else,
too
though.
big of a, everyone else. I wish they didn't know about him. I wish they didn't know he existed. There's probably one of the players I wish didn't have a photo in fantasy. Maybe make it a bit harder for people to find him.
Yeah, and if you're not a fan of the podcast, this guy's rubbish, and you need to get him out of your team right now.
Exactly. Even if you are a fan of the podcast, feel free to not start him. I love helping you guys out, but I'd also love a new car at the end of the year. So,
well, yeah, the name of this guy's game, it's all in his tackle numbers going up. He's had them in juniors, been able to translate and stick them now, and I think tackling's one of the things that you've either got or you haven't. Like, you look at your Jerry's, those guys can hold on. Yeah, and I think Garcia's one of them. Who else comes to mind in that with tackling? You've got it or you haven't.
What your Rao types? Steele's always been a good tackler at Saints.
Yeah,
I think Rowbottom gets good tackle numbers.
Yes, he does. Very underrated.
Yeah.
Also, my girlfriend's footy crush.
How you're brought up. It depends how your parents showed affection. Some of these players just love a cuddle.
Mm-hmm.
I think Garcia is one of those, and he's not just going to be doing that either. Because you think about if Steele and McRae are the midfielders, Steele and McRae aren't going to be explosive out of the middle. Like, Garcia's got genuine pace. He's your X factor player in that midfield out of that 3. So I think they're going to try and get the ball in his hands too.
It's going to be a fun watch.
Yeah, I think he's the sort of player, and you look at what his points per minute were last season. He had a lot of sub appearances, so maybe coming on against tired bodies helps a little. But those numbers suggest he could average 100, right? Like, that's something he can do. Now, will he do that over the course of a full game? First year in the midfield? Probably not. And as the season goes on, when the likes of Filippo come back in, I'm sure he'll get a little less opportunity.
Well, where do you see him going pre-Filippo? Priced at 44. Give us a number.
Pre-Filippo, I would have said probably around 70. And
that's fantastic.
I think without Filippo being there, so we got basically until the bye rounds, I reckon he can push closer to the 80 mark.
He's on field too, and he obviously saves one of those forward spots from one of your rookies. Which, who have you got in there, mate? Just quickly run over them. I've just seen who one of them is.
well, I will say, it's great to not have rookies on field because you can't trust rookies week to week very well.
Yep.
They can pump out good scores, which we'll touch on, but it's nice to have a bit more comfort in, even if it's a second or third year player. They can just handle the AFL level a little bit better. When we are talking about rookies, someone wasn't really in my team until pre-season. Just what a game he played. Was it 102 he scored or something? Like
29 touches?
Sam Davidson, I think he just has to be in our team based on that. Like, unless, again, Bevo, that could happen.
Bury the kid after his 29 touch game.
Yeah, maybe Bevo looked at that, thought, needs a bit more work. Put him in the twos. That would be such a Bevo thing. Surely he's playing, and look, he's not going to average 102. He probably won't have a single game score in 102 all season long.
Nope. He's hit his prime in pre-season.
So long as he's playing out on a wing, maybe he averages a 50. That's enough, right? As with all of these rookies, we don't know who's going to have job security, so we might have to change these round 1, but I'd be pretty confident he'll be there round 1. And he's not a kid either, right? Like, he's 23 years old.
Yep.
So that's going to help him a bit.
Mature age.
You know, he doesn't have AFL experience as such, but he's still got a bit more of a body than some of the kids coming through.
Yeah. Basement Price. Tall guy as well. I think people forget. Can run, has an excellent motor from what I hear. And an equally as terrible cameraman. If you've seen the photo, it's put it on my Twitter. It's his announcement. And he's...
Yeah,
it looks like he's standing in front of his bedroom wardrobe. He's got the kid on.
Yeah, that's exactly what they've done. It was a last minute one.
But yeah, no, I love that. And yeah, he'll be a good lock in a lot of people's teams after that ton. Cornerstone, someone just going to lock in. Like we said earlier, we want them to be playing, and he's just going to do exactly that.
Yeah, looks like he's in there 22. If we find out he isn't, we move him to someone else. But look, is he going to be a great scorer? No, but in the level below, in the twos, he averages about 84, 85 last season. So if that translates to let's call it a 55 at an AFL level, maybe a 50, that's heaps for a basement price rookie. Yeah, like you said, if he's playing, that's probably enough for me to pick him, really.
Exactly, which a lot of people, myself included, have gone a leaky over him, but I'm starting to lean towards switching that up, getting him in just because of that role and job security as well. And looks like you're going wacko as well.
Yeah, he had a bloody good game against Geelong in pre-season. Isaac Kako. I think Matt Hill called him Kako a few times. It's always fun.
And it was after someone else said Kako. Like 5 seconds after he's heard someone else say it. No, I know better.
I still love Hilly as a coach. I'll live with him pronouncing some names wrong. He just makes the game feel exciting. You listen to a Brian Taylor or something, and it feels like he's making it about himself. You listen to a Kelly Underwood. And,
going off to Brian.
Yeah, Kelly Underwood, the pre-season calls of this could be goal of the season, you're winning a premiership on the back of that kick, and then not only is it not that impressive, and not only is it a pre-season game, but it's a point.
Yeah.
Get that a bit. So, yeah, I think
just commentator. With Hilly there, every time he gets up and about, I'm expecting some horses to go running by along the oval as well.
Yeah. I wish they had more. Him, probably Paps is my other one I really like.
Mm-hmm.
More of them commentating, but I think Paps they've just got him locked up somewhere in WA doing the commentary from a prison cell. They don't let him out of the state.
Well, staying lively. Kako had that big game, obviously. Is it 4 goals, 4.99 goals until Draper wanted to show up.
Yeah. Yeah, he just looked good. He's probably of all the forwards or forward rookies, he's got the best job security.
Again,
you're paying up a little bit for it at 304k, but I'm pretty comfortable paying up if it means it's one less headache, right? You hate to get to round 2 or round 3 and 7 rookies are already dropped from your team, right? So Kako, he's not going to get dropped from that Essendon team pretty much all year, right? Maybe there's a little bit of managing him because he's a kid later in the season. That's pretty normal to miss a week or two.
Once they're out of the 8 contention.
Yeah, but
sorry, Essendon fans.
Essendon are usually in the 8 contention for a while. They drop out late. That's their trend.
See, that's more insulting than what I said.
Wow, I don't know, is it? I don't know. What would you rather? I'd rather have hope for most of the season.
I don't think you'd rather either.
Well, I don't know.
They're celebrating. What is it? Yeah, the count just had its first legal drink in the US the other day, didn't it?
Yeah, something like that. No, I mean, you'd rather be in final. Well, as a Saints supporter last season, because I think they might have even finished above Essendon in the end, or one spot below, something like that. I'll just look it up as I'm talking.
Yeah,
but yeah, we were out of finals contention pretty early in the season. Finished well, right? I thought we looked great at the back end of the year.
Well, one of my mates at work was actually talking about how Higgins got that goal against Carlton.
Yeah,
he's a Hawks man, so he was loving those tears. But
yeah, cost us a couple of spots in the draft order, but
worth it.
absolutely worth. Oh, look, you
They
don't
still
have a
got in
lot to be
anyway, then
happy
Freo
about.
choked.
You don't have a lot to be happy about as a Saints supporter sometimes.
You can get
I
happy
probably,
on other people's
I
misery.
probably had it. I had it easy growing up, even though we didn't win premierships. We were always pretty good growing up for me. But the last, I don't know, decade, it's been a lot of losing. So little memories like that, I can look back on last year, and at least that game, the Geelong game, the Sydney, that's something to be happy about.
Yeah.
Gives you something. We're getting a bit off topic here.
That's okay. That's what people are here to listen to. But yeah, wrapping up
yeah,
the forwards.
Kako should be fine. Just
Yeah.
solid forward pick.
Keep him. 300k. Got Rankin F1, McRae F2. Excuse me. Sanders F3, Smith F4, Caleb Daniel F5, Hugo Garcia F6, and then Davidson in front of his bedroom wardrobe, Cornerstone at the back, just rocking his thing. And yeah, Kako up forward being lively. Good junior numbers as well, we didn't add, so he won't be a genuine small forward. He'll be getting up and about as well, I think.
Push up a little.
And that wraps up your team. Man, dude, I'm so fucking excited. I'm just going to go out and say it. Just want to see some numbers next to those players, some up arrows, down arrows, just everything you live for in the fantasy space. And we're, here to cover it with all the, cover and share it with all the Insight Fantasy, crew. And I'm just, so keen to crack on.
Yeah, no, should be good to finally get some proper footy, get these fantasy scores up and running. Lots of cash gen, lots of big scores, nice captain options. Should be good.
Yeah,
what are the plans moving forward? When are we releasing stuff? When are we going live?
Exactly, yeah. So, we've got to get through my team reveal as well, albeit it probably won't be very exciting looking at the amount of sort of players in common we'll have, but we'll figure something out to do with that. And then, from there, we're going to be running a just round by round preview show, who we're going to look at, what our sort of trade targets are, that kind of thing you look at before the round starts. Those will probably come out on a, Wednesday night, Thursday morning to have a look at before the round starts. And then we'll be going with, maybe a Sunday night sort of review, looking at, any injuries, big scores, changes of roles, things like that, which, I'm really keen to have on. We'll have a few segments. The production quality will go up just from basic team reveals, so stay hot on that. But as you can see, best spots to stay in touch, our X/Twitter handles, mine down there at letters BK_IFS for Insight Fantasy Sports. Nato, what's yours?
Yep, at Fantasy NATO, so fantasy spelled how it should be. NATO is NATEO. That's where you'll find me on Twitter.
Yeah, we're pretty up and about there. If you got any questions, comments, anything, we're completely open to it. In terms of the socials, I think they call it a triple banger over here. Like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we're recording, and we'll probably put it on our Twitters as well. We'll have some live streams for some of the big games as well, I think. That could be a bit of fun. So if you don't want to listen to if you don't want to listen to Brian and Nathan's view.
Yeah, no Taylor. Get rid of Brayshaw. Get rid of Underwood.
And it'll just be a bit more of a fantasy centered space as well. So we'll be celebrating +6s like their goals when they're going back to everyone's players, and just build a bit of a fantasy community around here where people can chat, connect, and just completely get around the script. So anything else from you?
No, I think that about covers it.
Yeah, about covers it. So keen. Well, on that note, thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next one for my team reveal, won't it be? All right, bye guys.